Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you for coming here, even though it's really cold outside. So today we're gonna go to the second part of SwiftUI. I'm gonna stress this again. This is probably what you want to use for when you're coding your hack challenge project. It's gonna be a lot quicker, a lot easier, less boilerplate code. So let's get straight into it. Into announcements. So remember, A4 midpoint is due tonight. If you look at CMs, it should be the same as last time for A3. Just submit a TXT file, and the final submission is due next Tuesday, November 25th, which is right before Thanksgiving break. And also hack challenges right around the corner. So here there are two links. For the ed discussion, there's going to be a separate one for the hack challenge and a team matching form that you have to fill out. So you submit one form per team. So if you have team members you already want to work with, maybe here or the other classes as well, just have one of them submit the form. And the mixer, there's a mixer tomorrow at Gates GO1. From 5 to 6. This is optional. It won't count towards attendance, which is just 5%. But if you want to meet people and maybe team up with them, then do that tomorrow. And there's a kickoff on Thursday, which is mandatory. It's only an hour, same time, same place as the mixer, and this will count for just 5%. And if you have like a prelim or something going on that day, you can just let me know, and then I can mark you down and not have your 5% go away. And remember, the team matching form is due tomorrow by midnight, so please fill that out. If you don't fill it out, you'll probably get random match. But if you miss the deadline, just let us know. And yeah, make sure you add yourself to the ed discussion.
Yeah, the mixer is strongly encouraged, especially if you don't have other teammates, you don't know people from other classes. Get to meet them in person. I met my teammate during the mixer 2 semesters ago, and then we're still friends today. And I was able to steal a designer from another group, so if you don't have a designer, it's a great way to find a designer, because designers are not mandatory, so designers are kind of scarce. Yeah, the kickoff is mandatory because you get to see your team. We review your team during the kickoff, and then we also cover important points about the hack challenge. All right. Today we're gonna jump straight into the demo. So let's take a look at the final product of today's demo. Oops, this should be iPhone. Okay. Is this iPhone? Oh, it's iPad. Sorry. Yeah, it's building. Hello.
Why is this still an iPad?
Yeah. I let it build, bro. Is it this one?
That's iPad. Oh, bro. Do you have 17?
Yeah.
You just exit.
Quit. Sorry guys, technical issue. Alright, so while it's building, let's take a look. From the last class, we coded this bird list view in SwiftUI. This class, we're gonna have a content view. Let's close this Canva. We're gonna have like a vertical stack for our entrance, and then at the end we're gonna be able to add names like J, location, New York City, and we can add count, and then we can add bird. And once we click view birds, we'll be able to see the name added to the bottom of the list. Yeah, it's not clickable. Yeah. Okay. We also talk about the navigation stack and the navigation view modifiers. So this back button is default, and we'll learn how to disable this back button, stuff like that. I think that's the iOS 26 thing. All right, so let's get started. First, let's go through what is navigation. We already know what's navigation from UIKit. You can think about this as like UI navigation controller in UIKit, but in SwiftUI as navigation stack, it's a lot more similar to use compared to UIKit. So the technical definition is that it's a view that displays a root view and enables you to present additional views over the root view. And we have the navigation modifiers. As I just said, these modifiers, you can do things like disabling the back button, and then you can also set the title and stuff like that. These modifiers must go into the view nested inside the navigation stack, but not on the navigation stack itself. And then, all right, let's start the demo. Okay, let's pull up the iOS course website. Lectures, SwiftUI 2, and then I'm just going to copy this line. Open up terminal, CD into the folder that we use, course demo, and then CD into lecture 11, and then open birdwatch.xcode project. Oops. Alright, let's open it again.
Okay.
Oh, it can't find it. That's weird.
Oh,
what?
The Xcode project.
Okay, technical issue, guys.
Wait, try pulling it or cloning it again.
Yeah. It's in trash. So CD into course demo. Why is that? Let me use the bottom one. So clone. Alright,
Okay,
good.
nice.
If the top link doesn't work, use the bottom link.
That's interesting. I've never seen that.
Yeah. It's weird. Alright. Let's enable the preview so we can see what we're doing.
Are you on me? Oh yeah,
Yep. And then first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap everything in the navigation stack, but okay, let's let the preview load.
why is it iPad?
Yeah, it's keep defaulting to iPad. But I just changed it to iPhone. Let's give it a second to load. Alright. Hello, bro.
Oh, can we make it bigger too?
Yeah. Alright. Okay, so right now, like, the button doesn't work, right? Because we need to wrap this in a navigation stack, and we need to wrap the button in a navigation link. So let's do the navigation stack first. I turned off completion, but if you guys, yeah, here's something that I want to show you guys. So for completion, I turned it off, but I used on demand. That means like it's not gonna show us default what the completion or what the rest of the code is, but if you press escape, it'll show you guys. So navigation stack, and then wrap it. So that allows us to be able to click on the button and then go inside another view. So next what we're gonna do is make this button a navigation link so that we can click on it. Let's go over navigation link. So for navigation link, it's just a view that that controls the navigation presentation. So we have the button. We're gonna put the button into the label, and then we're gonna put the link that we want to navigate into the navigation link. So in the code, navigation escape link. So choose this one, destination and the view. We want to enter. Let's fill in the code for the label first. So view bird button. Oh, view birds button. Now we can delete this. Remember how we have this view birds button function? This function defines what the bird button looks like. And then inside the navigation link, we want to send in the bird list view. Okay. Now when we click on it, it navigates into this.
Also, like quickly commenting, I know it says view birds button, but it's actually not a button, it's just a text view. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just some view. We just named it view bird button so that we know which function we're working on. And well, I want to show you guys this navigation title dot. Yeah. Oh. Wait, it's not.
It's on the V stack.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah.
Or is it fine?
Yeah, it's fine. So navigation title, we want to name it lists view. Oh, sorry, it's on the top. So that when we click on it, the title shows up here. And I think if you put the navigation title here, bird watch, the title is going to show up over here. For this navigation title, we can also place it inside this file itself here. But the preview is not going to show it because the preview does not know it's a navigation stack. So if we go to content view and view bird, it's still going to show up. Oh, why is it list view? Oh yeah, I named it list view. All right, let's remove this. What's the last thing we have to do? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, and also we can disable the button. So select navigation back button hidden. If we do this, we click on it, there's no way to go back. All right. Next up, we're gonna modify the program so that we can press the count button and then increment the count. So first, we want to make a private var count, and it's a type of integer. Set it to 0. And then we want to make a new count button. Let's start with how it looks like. Private var add count button. It's some view. And it's a button. Select action and label. And the action, we're just going to increment the count. And then the label, we can just copy the code over here because it's going to look very similar to the blue button, but it's just going to say count. Add count. Right. So the issue right here is that like we have to make this variable a state variable so that we can change it. We'll cover a little more about states in a bit. All right. Now let's put this in a horizontal stack. Edge stack. and then add count button. Yeah, let's make the color green. So now, oh, yeah, so we need to put the count here so that we can see the count. So now it says 0, and then we add the count, it'll add the count. Now let's talk about the state. So add state, that allows the view itself create and own the instance that you want to wrap. And then the property that's being wrapped is the value type, such as struct or enum, and we want to make it private so that no other external source can modify it. So right now we don't need to use the two-way binding, but for the next part of the demo, we want to modify the name and the location, and we will use two-way binding. You see in a bit. So what we did here, we added the add state to this variable so that we can modify it. All right, and now we're gonna work on the text field. So let's add more state for private var name. It's a type of string, and set it to an empty string, and then state private var location. It is also a type string, and it's empty right now. Then we want to change these into text field so that we can type to it. Text. See, now we use the $sign that makes it bindable, so we can two-way bind it. Location.
And to briefly comment on this, so within like the code of text field, there's going to be like a binding variable that's called text, and what we're doing is basically giving it the reference to like name and location, so that inside text field, when we actually change the string inside it, it'll connect with the name up there in the parent view.
Yeah. So this is the binding is required because if we don't use it, Swift is gonna Xcode is gonna yell at us for compilation error. All right. So now we can like type into this J New York City. Right now it's at like the UI is not very nice, so we can add padding to it. If you press dot and press escape, it's gonna show you all of the options. We want to fix the horizontal padding, so we do dot horizontal, and let's just say 50. Now it moves it to the center and it looks a little better. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's padding here. And next up, we want to add the add bird button so that we can add it to the list. So inside the H stack, we want to yeah. All right. So add bird button, and then of course we don't have the function yet, so it's gonna shoot us an error and yell at us that we can't find the add bird button scope. So let's make the private var add bird button function. There's also some view, and
C-type.
yeah, it's my bad. All right. The structure is pretty much the same as the add count button, but what we have to change is the logic of the button, and that's pretty much it. And also the color. We don't want it all to look in the same color, so we can distinguish them. So the logic will be once the button is pressed, what should we do? We'll append this new bird into the dummy, into the data that we currently have. So we'll birds that append bird and then the properties that are required. Going back to this, so we're required to send the name, send the location, image, and count. For the purpose of demo, our image will all be the same. So name will just be the name that we typed into the text field. And then for location, it'll also just be the location that we type into the text field. So for image, we have an image for a newbie. So we're just gonna use the same image no matter what kind of bird we add. So newbie, comma, separate. And then count is the number of times we add a count. All right. This should be add bird, and let's make this orange. All right. Okay. So name, who's the newbie? Zane. Location, Israel.
No, he's not from Israel. Syria.
Oh, cereal.
Syria.
Okay, I don't know how to spell cereal, guys.
S-Y.
All right, let's add the count, to count, and then add the bird. All right, so now we have Zane. Notice that I pressed the add bird 2 times earlier, and we added empty birds. So after we did that, it should add the count, the name, and the location, and also this newbie image. So the issue right here is that it's not clear. So can someone run me through the rest of the code that we need to add? All right, there's free candies. Yeah. Nobody want to take a try? So we want to reset our properties. So what do we do? All right, we'll reset it. We will reset the string to empty string, and then we also reset the count to 0. So name equals to empty string, and location equals to empty string, and then we set the count equals to 0. So now if we add another Zane, let's use another newbie, Isha. Oh boy. Isha, I think she's from New York City. And then we add count, we have 1 Isha, and add bird. Now it resets it, and as you can see, the count went back to 0, name went to empty string, and the location is also empty string. And we look at the bird, she's successfully added. The reason that the previous name that we added disappears because like preview re-rendered, and kind of like you can do like the app re-ran, but what is required if we want to maintain what we did, what we add, if we want to preserve what we add? It was a topic that we covered earlier in UI Kit. Wait, I heard somebody say it. Yes. Yeah, we will need to do persistence if we want to maintain what we add. Yeah, and that was it for the demo, I think.
What do you want?
Yeah. So let's run the program. Let's run the simulator. Why is it on iPad again? Okay, it's okay. We just run the simulator on iPad. The UI might look a little different. Okay. Wait, since we ran this on iPad because I don't want to rerun the thing. Like, there's something I want to mention. Like, the cool thing about like coding on Xcode and using Swift is that like the code that you write for your app, for your iPhone app and stuff like that, um, it can also just be run in iPad OS and Mac OS. So that's very convenient. Like when you write an app, it's like you're not just writing an app for your phone. You can use the same code for your other devices. So it should work the same. Name, what's it? Duru? Oh, bro. Okay.
What is that autocorrect?
Yeah, she's from Turkey. These are all newbies. And if we add count, we can add bird. And it should show up here. And another newbie, Isha. She's from New York City. And then add count, add bird. It's here. Alright. Okay. Alright, that's it for the demo. There are some important stuff that
Wait, I'll take over. But just really quickly, I wanted to show something else. There's a reason why we wrap everything in Navstack. So imagine we only put this like here. Oh, wait, how do you auto format?
Control I.
Okay. So imagine we only put the nav stack around this H stack, and then we like do the same thing. So J, New York City. Oh wait, what?
It should, cause like the list view is in it.
No, wait, I thought navigates only that one.
Yeah. You put it into like
Let's just put it here.
Wait, that'll still work. Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. It's like, no, it should only navigate the bottom. Oh yeah, look, it looks really weird, right? It became really weird. It's because it only navigates like whatever's inside the actual stack. So you'll be able to kind of see it here when I press view birds. See, only this section navigates. So it's very important that you put navstack around like your entire thing. So like var body and then just navstack immediately. And then you won't have any issues. All right, that's it. And then we'll go over property wrappers. So this is the stuff we use, like add state, these add stuff. They're very important for when you're writing SwiftUI. So what about like reference types, like classes, right? Because we only went through primitives. So here, for these like primitive types, you have add state. So you like create it using add state. And then add binding, what it does is it's basically saying, oh, we're gonna receive something. And then this is basically gonna be sort of like an add state, but we're receiving it and then we're listening for changes, and then we're like telling like the parent view, oh hey, this changed, and etc. So yeah, read and write to a property that's owned by a parent view. So typically this is used for like child views inside views, and then property being wrapped as a value type, and then you use a $sign. Remember we talked about the $sign. So this is basically what's going on. So we have like a car, right? And then we have like a horn count, which we use an add state inside. And so this car view owns this horn count. And then we have this horn button, and we're passing in the horn count, the parent horn count. We use a $sign to establish like the two-way binding. And then you see this has a horn child count. This is going to be at binding. So this is like receiving this, and then when we click this button, it's going to increment it, and that's also going to reflect here. That kind of makes sense. So like this is kind of like how text field works, except like text field is sort of like a black box, so we don't really see the code.
Yeah. We don't need it in the code that we currently have right now because it's in the same view.
Yeah. So add state object is the parallel to add state, but it's used on an observable object, which is going to be reference type, like classes, right? And then basically it listens to changes in properties that are wrapped in add published, and then the view itself creates and owns the instance. So you're gonna see a lot more code of this next lecture, so don't be worried about the actual nitty-gritties. So what if the view does not own the property? So by owning we mean like this view owns like this property count because it's inside, and then we use add state. We use an observed object. So this is like literally just add binding, but for observable objects. It's like for class reference types. And then it changes, of course, it also changes to add publish properties. And the view itself does not create or own the instance. Think of it like here. Imagine if this was like the view model. This would be a state object. Oh yeah. Well, like imagine this was like some class, right? Be a state object, and this would be an observed object instead of just add binding. So what if we want to share the property to multiple views? Then we use environment object. It's similar to add observed object, but you can share it to multiple views. And again, of course, the view itself does not create or own the instance. So basically think of it like it's add observed object, but you can pass it to multiple different views. You can see it can get really complex. And then so for overall high level, we have like different ways of where the data comes from. It's either owned inside the view, so like a property that's initialized inside the view and then managed in the view, or the parent. Think of it like navigation, right? We pass in these, or like a subcomponent. And then environment. Environment's tricky. Like think of it like throughout your entire app, like dark mode is like an environment variable you want to have consistent throughout like the entire thing, and then saved on disk. So for owned, if you have an immutable value right within the view, it's static, then just make it a regular property. No need to do any wrappers or anything. And then if it's a mutable value, I use add state. And then if it's an observable object, like a view model, which we'll show you next lecture, then use an add state object. For parent, similarly, immutable value, regular, mutable. Remember, if it's coming from the parent view, then use add binding. And then observable, you just use an observed object, which is the parallel of binding for classes. So in environment, it gets slightly different. So for environmental values, use add environment. And you're going to see a little note here. Add environment is to add environment object, as add state is to add state object. So remember, if it's a class or some reference type, then you use this instead. Remember what I said, like if your app has like a color scheme that's consistent throughout like every like screen, like say dark mode or light mode, that's like a example of like an environment variable. Yeah, and then saved on disk. Remember, this is like user defaults, core data, persistence. So if it's from user defaults, use add app storage. And then if it's for a single scene, then you do add scene storage. You don't really have to worry about this too much, unless you have persistence. Yeah, and then for core data, add fetch request. Remember, core data is like kind of like a mini database you have within your app. Most of the times you're going to be using user defaults, so I'd say you'd probably use this more than this. And then an important side note is that for iOS 17, they sort of changed this with the introduction of the observation framework. But the reason why we still teach you the old way is because, of course, some apps can have like a minimum target of like iOS 15 or 16. Most likely 16, since that's when the app stack was introduced. So with 17 and above, what you can use is add observable on like a class, and then you can just use add state, even though it's like a reference type, which is very neat. There's no more need to like draw parallels and like do all these stuff that overcomplicates many different wrappers. So yeah, that's about it. Any questions? I know that was pretty high level, but next lecture we're gonna give you more concrete examples.
But I have one question. So like the image that we have, like that we just like send into the image and then the text of the image name, is that also an environment object? Like the image that was stored in assets? Are these environment objects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are, because
So-
they're consistent throughout the entire app. Yeah.
How come like we don't have to write code for it?
This one?
Like, yeah, how come like we don't have to specify them as environment at environment property wrapper?
Oh, well, it's probably because it's managed inside like image. If you give it this string, it probably has a way inside to fetch the actual image from assets. So in assets, you don't really have to use like environment stuff. You can just use the names here, which is very nice, very easy for us developers. Okay. So finally, the Kahoot. How do you stop?